Hi, it's Dr. Melinda Mann, OBGYN and lifestyle medicine. Tonight I would like to talk about something that has affected me my entire life. And that's the concept of being spontaneous versus not spontaneous. Meaning, are you the type of person that likes to plan things out? Or are you the type of person that likes to kind of take it as it comes? The reason why I'm bringing this up is because in a lot of these whole food plant-based seminars and kinds of advice where they tell you to batch cook, spend Sunday cutting up all your vegetables, get everything ready so that you always have 10 sweet potatoes in the oven, and so you'll never go hungry, and etc., etc., etc. So people have different personalities, and some people really thrive on that. I know someone who eats whole food plant-based, and her freezer looks like it's a military installation. Everything is packaged and labeled and weighed and measured and stored and neat and stacked and all of this. But if you look in my freezer, it's a dump, because that's just the way I am. My lights went out, it's midnight, it's time to go to sleep. But I'll keep talking. So what about us people who are spontaneous and they are not naturally inclined to be so organized and so planned ahead? Like I heard someone coming on YouTube and saying that she'll give you a vegan menu plan for a month, as if you're some kind of a school or something. But I'm not like that. I like to come home and say, okay, what do I want to eat? So what can happen under those circumstances is you can get into trouble. So that tends to happen to me under two circumstances. One, well, maybe three. One is I'm tired. Two, I'm tired. And three, I'm tired. No, I'm joking. One of them is that life interferes. You can have plans, you can have food in your refrigerator, and you can have good intentions to cook it or prepare it or cut it or chop it or peel it or boil it. And then life just gets in the way. And when you are a doctor, that tends to happen. Or even if you have a normal household, these things can interfere. So what do you do if you're not this type to plan ahead like a military person? And then the other thing is, what about your appetite? What about what you feel like eating? People who plan ahead don't really think too much about how they feel. They want to be organized. They want to have everything ready, and this suits them. They thrive on it. And then there are other people like me that don't like that, that prefer to be spontaneous, that prefer to come home and say, what do I feel like eating? So really you have to have a happy medium. That's the truth. You have to, unless you're that type that is overly disciplined. But if you're a regular average person, I believe that ultimately it's healthier to have a combination of both. You have to be prepared, and you also have to allow for spontaneity and figuring out what do you want to eat tonight. And part of that is dealing with reality, which is sort of my segue into how to take a bad eating day and make it into a good eating day. But before I get into that, I just want to speak a little bit more about when you cook food and you really like it. Yeah, you could cook a little more and throw it in your freezer, and then one day when you come home, like it happened to me today, and you say, gee, I didn't think of anything, I didn't know what mood I was in, and I have to come up with something to eat. You can just go rummaging around and you can say, oh, that soup that I bought a month ago in the Mediterranean store, that bean soup, I could take it out of the freezer and defrost it, and I could cut tofu in there because it's a flavorful soup, and I could use that as a basis for my dinner. And that's exactly what I did tonight. I went to my freezer and I opened the drawer. I have a drawer freezer, and I'm rummaging around. So there is such an idea, and there is a certain amount of happiness that you could derive from that. But you do have to have your treats, when I mean treats in parentheses, some nice different kinds of compliant foods frozen away that you can discover like a treasure hunt occasionally. So that's what I actually did tonight. Now I'm gonna move on, but before I do, I just want to say that not being that kind of person that has to plan every little element ahead of time, it doesn't mean you're deficient. It's just a personality type. And really, it's sort of more fun in a certain way. Do you ever get into a kind of boxed in where you're out of options and you don't know what to do because you didn't plan ahead? Yes, it could happen, but you just roll with it. Go with surfing on the waves. Now, how to make a bad day into a good day. So let's say you're having a bad day. What does it mean, a bad day? You're having a bad food day. I'll give you an example. I hoped yesterday that I was gonna be able to buy a salad in the salad bar in my hospital where I work. But I got too busy and I didn't have time to go to the salad bar. So what did I do instead? Well, I don't know, I got sort of upset because I knew that when I came home at night, I wasn't going to start making a salad, and the salad bar closes, and it was a mess. So I knew I wasn't going to get a salad bar. And you know what I did? I just accepted it because I did something else instead. I called a Chinese restaurant and I said I'm coming in, and I ordered something called mu shu. I don't know how many of you know what mu shu is. Mu shu is mostly a cabbage dish, and they also have lots of vegetables, and they put a scrambled egg in. So what I usually do is I tell them, don't give me the pancake. Use a drop of oil. I can't tell them use no oil because they're not gonna understand it. So I ask them to use like a teaspoon of oil, not more, and to add tofu. So the lady in the Chinese restaurant says to me, she's Chinese, she says to me, it's gonna break up, it's gonna make a mess. So I say to her, don't worry about it, it's fine. And then she says, do you want us to fry the tofu? If we fry it, it won't break apart. And then I say, no, it's fine if it breaks apart. I don't have a problem with that. So we go through this discussion every single time. But they are making me this mu shu, and it's really got an assortment of healthy vegetables in it. And I have it with rice, and there's tofu in there, which I have to pay more for, which is fine. And then I throw away the pancakes, and it's a good meal that I can get when I've had a bad food day and I still want to be essentially compliant. I want to get my vegetables in. I like tofu. It's high in protein. It's very satiating. And after you eat it, you feel like you did the right thing. Now, what else was bad about my food day? I had to wake up very early in the morning and drive 3 hours, and my breakfast got messed up. I had some peanuts and some peaches in the car. It wasn't a real breakfast. And I knew that I was going to have a very long day in the office. So I went to get a waffle from Very Juice. They have one now on Avenue M in Brooklyn. They have a waffle that's made with oat flour and almond milk. And I found out, I thought it was vegan, but it's not vegan. They put eggs in it. But I was surprised. I was really surprised. But I decided just to eat it because I don't put syrup on it, and because my taste buds have changed, and it's not greasy. And I decided whatever amount of egg is in there, I need to go to work. So I just ate it and I went to work. So this is how we try to work within our limitations. That's how it is. Tonight I came home and I really had no idea what to eat for dinner. It was one of those spontaneous situations. What am I going to eat? So I did. I opened my freezer and I started rummaging around. And I remembered that I had bought a soup in the Syrian store, white bean soup in the Syrian store. And I cut up the tofu, I heated it up, I had that. And I was in the mood for whole grain rice pasta, and I made some of that. And then, instead of relaxing and go to sleep, I went to help my daughter and my son-in-law with their 4 kitties because they came back from vacation. So now it's after midnight and I'm making this video. But I didn't want to push it off because I want to emphasize that being spontaneous is okay. You try to plan as much as you can. But if you can't plan, and if you are the type like me, that if you start planning even close to bedtime, you'll never fall asleep. So I like really to stop thinking about this sort of stuff and just go to sleep, and then again be spontaneous in the morning. So how do I do it? Usually in the morning I like to bake myself some potatoes, but let's say I don't have enough time. So what I do is I just cut the potatoes in very small pieces and bake them like that. So there's ways of getting around it. Even though I would prefer a whole baked potato, I know that I don't have a lot of time in the morning, so this is how we deal with my spontaneous nature. This was a bit of a rambling video, but I'm trying to show that it doesn't have to be a certain way. As long as you have the stuff in your house, for the most part, you can manage to do things that lead to a sense of gratitude and pleasure and sort of feel good. And could I have done better eating these past 2 days? Yes, I could have done better eating these past 2 days, but I wasn't able to. So I did the best I can, and hopefully tomorrow I'll get to go to the salad bar, because right now my mother's still in rehab and I don't have a lot of time besides working a full-time job as an OBGYN. And so I'm going to really try to go to the salad bar tomorrow, and I'll give you an update. Thank you for listening.